Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. As you can see, I have with me Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, with whom I'm going to discuss a very intricate subject, Punjab. Let me say this at the outset, this is not a political discussion at all. We're not wanting to talk about BJP, Congress or Aam Aadmi Party here. This is a discussion on national security. This is above politics, and that's something I want to baseline right at the beginning of the discussion. Thank you, sir, for joining me. Punjab seems to be a bit of a challenge that we will see in front of us coming forward. We've discussed this in a short little video that we had done before, but I guess it's time that we need to look at it a little deeper.
Thank you, Aadi. I think we need to take stock of the emerging internal security situation, which may be partly due to external articulation, as also some errors which we commit inadvertently, playing into the hands of the people who don't want to see India progress in the current trajectory which it is going. As you know, very recently our growth has been now revised to stable now from a negative perspective. It has now become a stable growth projection for the next few months in this remaining financial year. So yeah, you're right. It's time we discuss something about it.
Absolutely, sir. We can see the internal security becoming a challenge with recent events as well. And all of these basically point out to, external hands. And Punjab, to begin with, seems to be a page out of the Pakistani playbook, straightforward. So they seem to be, going a little astray in terms of Kashmir because of their narrative not being sold. And that's my perspective, sir. Would you agree to something like that?
I tend to agree to you, Adi, without being too quoted as always blaming everything on Pakistan. But the hand of Pakistan seems to be there in this play, and there are two, three reasons for it. The first one is that because of our concentrated and a concerted effort in Kashmir, we were able to actually bring down the terrorism in the valley to a great extent. Our casualties had reduced, the militant terrorist activities had gone down, plus the political actions which were taken in terms of Article 370, etc. That all clubbed into creating a situation which was so good that the valley was seeing the highest number of tourists today. So the terrorists were pushed to the corner as far as Kashmir is concerned. And my view is that when terrorists are pushed to a corner, they cannot take on the security forces directly. So what do? The next best thing which they try to do is select soft targets. And exactly that is what they have been doing. But somewhere soft target killing in today's environment, I should say, has a drawback. It gives a negative publicity even to the terrorists. So they had to open another front. And what best is to go to the old, thing about Punjab, which is next to J&K, and it has been actually in the offing for quite some time. I remember when I was in Punjab as the corps commander there, I used to find sleeper cells being caught with 6 to 7 AK rifles. Of course, these were going to the valley at that point in time. I'm talking of 2018. Then started the drones phenomena. Initially, you'll be surprised it was the balloon phenomena. The balloons used to start, and the messages were being given by pigeons. Slowly, this changed into drones. Initially for drugs. Thereafter, I think even the weapons have started coming across. There have been a number of arrests which have been made by the Punjab police, Haryana police, and in the process of these guys carrying RDXs or explosives or weapon systems caught on the boundary of Haryana, etc. So all these are there in the news. So it is always better. It is always better to nip the problem in the bud. As of now, there are sleeper cells in Punjab. As of now, there is an active support base in Pakistan, of course, fueled by the now famous ISI, which also created an organization called Lashkar-e Khalsa. So So there is this potential there for somebody to take advantage of in Punjab. There is also a certain amount of internal dissatisfaction between the state and the national government, which is being taken advantage of by these elements. I think these are factors which we need to take into account and ensure that Punjab doesn't become the second book of playbook of Pakistan after having been the first playbook, long time back when General Ziaul Haq started his policy of bleeding through thousand cuts. It should not repeat itself, and we need to be conscious of this fact. It might get repeated, so we must be proactive in nipping it in the bud.
Indeed, sir, seems to be a bit of a challenge that we are going to face in the future, and uh, it's something which one wonders when the stability of the state, sir. And you also hinted to it, the differences between the national government and the state government seems to be bringing about a space wherein these guys are taking advantage. And I'm not going to say that any particular political party is trying to create a, this and that's taking the discussion onto a totally different fora. But what I am wanting to talk about is the political stability in general, sir. Something that we've seen brings cohesiveness within the state or within any troubled region for that matter. But the current situation of instability and a lack of certain amount of trust within the people and the state itself, that is also something that we are seeing coming out, creates more and more opportunities for the security forces of the security organizations to kind of ponder into, sir. Do you see this becoming a further challenge in the future?
Absolutely right, Adi. You see, I am always of the opinion that national security should be above politics. It should be totally apolitical,
Absolutely.
irrespective of governments which are there in the center or in the state. You will always find that counter state, which could be anyone, it could be a group of terrorists who start becoming a counter state in a particular region. They always test a government. They will test the resolve of a government to respond to their activities. The attacks which took place on the police headquarters by the so-called various Khalistani groups, which are being supported internationally, and they also have some elements internally. Otherwise, how can they undertake a rocket attack on a police intelligence building? To my mind, these are those probing attacks to test the new government as to how does it react to seek for justice or Babbar Khalsa or Babbar Khalsa Jindabad. These groups which are still existing even after the insurgency has been totally quelled, and people do quote that there is absolutely very very limited support for Khalistan as far as the bulk of the Punjab population is concerned. So if they have to, regain prominence, they must test the government. I think these actions which they have been doing of transporting drugs, transporting weapons, transporting explosive across the Pakistani border, and doing some killing of, say, for example, Musewala's killing, which was claimed by Babar Khalsa, Rinda group. These are tests being done by the so-called counter state to check the resolve of the new government. And I must suggest, as a ordinary citizen of our country, that the government of the state government must take very decisive actions at the elements who are responsible for these, at least internal actions we can straight away take. No central government will interfere into you taking proper action against the people who are culprit in undertaking such attacks, such as the intelligence building rocket attack or Musewala's killing, or some guys getting caught in Haryana border with explosives. We should not overlook it. It should not be taken lightly. It should not become a host to vote bank politics. Period. That's my last statement as far as this issue is concerned.
Indeed, sir, agreed. And I don't think there is anyone who would say the opposite to that particular thing, because at the end of it, there are gaps that these kind of instabilities create, which give opportunities to various different entities to create trouble within us. So internationally, we've seen Canada, UK, New Zealand, not as much as New Zealand, but Canada and UK, even the politicians within those countries being involved with these fringe elements, in those countries. And we've also seen a lot of pressure being put by the general populace in India for the leadership to take this up with those nations. To an extent, some statements came out, some stuff here and there, but I don't see a conceded effort. Do you think that is one gap that we need to now address immediately, because these countries surely refuse to do so?
True, Adi. In fact, to my mind, I mean, that's the way I think. And given the way NIA, etc., have gone about doing the investigations, I find there is more in the international arena as far as the disruptive movement of Khalistan is concerned than internally. And unless we tackle these external elements, we will actually be feeding the internal elements who are very small in numbers. The
Yeah.
sleeper cells are not far too many. Most of them were actually into the drugs, and then they have got roped into the arms and ammunition trade also. So therefore, unless we tackle those external elements, for example, the SFJ or Babbar Khalsa, or you have the Pamma group, Khalsa, of course, has been propped up by Pakistan, and more so, I find that Canada and Pakistan seem to be the emerging hub. My point is the international groups have to be reined in,
Yeah.
and these groups are known to us. Their hand was proven, I mean, very, very comprehensively in the farmers' agitation.
Mm.
People like Greta Thunberg were exposed, but they undertook this based on internal support. There were people from India who were actually framing those messages and then sending it to them. They were just the mouthpiece. So and who are funding them? It is these groups which are led by people like Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, and you have the Hardeep Singh Nijjar guy. Then you have Renda. These people have become some kind of poles of or symbols of projecting the Khalistan's view of creating a sovereign state in Punjab. Now, how they can be tackled, that in my view is that we have to now somehow uh, talk to the governments of these countries. I think we need to shed our inhibition. Let's take the bull by the horn. Let's talk to the Canadian Prime Minister. Let's talk to the US president on this issue. uh, and let's also project it with UK. In fact, I am of the view, why not with Pakistan also? Because Lashkar-e-Khalsa was suddenly emerged after the intelligence building attack in the social media, and the social media was attributed to the bots which were emanating from Pakistan,
Pakistan.
right?
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So we know whom to talk to in Pakistan. I mean, why are we taking this high stand that we will only talk to a civilian government? You know where the power is coming in Pakistan, so we might as well have a track to going with Pakistani army. Why should we hesitate to put 2 3 military members also in this track to delegation which goes to Pakistan and have a talk with them? And in this talk, let me tell you, it should not be a talk from a position of weakness. It should be a talk from a position of strength, telling them that, partner, if things are not done correctly, beware of another Balakot or action more severe than Balakot. We have to project our strength. Let me tell you, people respect strength. So therefore, when we tackle this kind of a problem, it has to be a happy mix of talks, projecting your strength in a manner where it is taken seriously. After all, you are today emerging as the third pole of economy. People are talking of dual pole economy. I think the third pole, slowly India is now emerging. It has some say in the world polity. If you look
Indeed,
at
sir.
even from PPP perspective, we are third. We are beyond the 6 trillion mark as far as the as far as PPP perspective is concerned. So it is, in fact, China won, America second, and India third. If you look at it from a PPP perspective, of course there are other indicators which indicate whether a country is developed or not developed. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking purely in terms of volumes and rates. I think we cannot be ignored today in the world, and let's make use of it. The external affairs minister has done it in the European circuit of his. I think he conveyed it very clearly. People have listened to him, and I think people will take it seriously. An odd incident like what has happened currently, or what is happening in our country, because of which we have had to make some statements, that's fine. These are bubbles which will come up and go down, but our long term perspective will remain, which is that we must talk, and we must talk from a position of strength. We must be able to convey to them that, look, either harness these guys, or be prepared for a counter action by us. It need not be a military action. It could be a political action. It could be diplomatic action. Choking the funding of SFJ and Babbar Khalsa. Mere banning of these groups will not do. We have to go beyond that.
Yeah.
If they have got relatives in India, choke their funds. If somebody is proven to be an SFJ member or a Babbar Khalsa international member, and he has got relatives who are getting funded in India, please choke them. Choke those funds. And I'm telling you, only thing which speaks is money. Moment the money stops coming, you will find people will listen to you, and they will, come on. I mean, if soft talk doesn't convince them, then you have to take hard action.
Oh, absolutely.
Before it becomes too late, and you start getting involved in in fighting, which happened 20 years back. Let's not repeat that. I mean, that's my warning as far as Punjab is concerned.
Absolutely, sir. I absolutely agree with you, because preventive action, the problem with us Indians is that हम लोग उसमें हो जाते हैं ना, दुनिया क्या कहेगी, लोग बुरा बोलेंगे and all that nonsense. I mean, it's critical for us to assert ourselves when it's required, because at the end of it, this is going to hurt us, and then we'll fight battles and we'll lose blood and lose men and manpower and money in actually taking this whole thing when it explodes, and it just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. I would like to quote here the Israeli example.
Sir.
Israelis have it as a policy that they would like to nip the problem in the bud. For that, they say that if I can get the job done through a cyber attack or a selective targeting of a anti-national element, it is much better than getting involved in a bigger fight later on and losing lives on either side. So a surgical action with minimal of damages to life and property at the right time will prevent a full-blown terrorist activities in Punjab. That's the way I look at it. If we go beyond, if we delay it further, I think we are looking at another problem at our hands.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons, as a matter of fact, I've been pushing you that we need to talk about this, because this, I feel, is going to be the next security challenge, which kind of brings me to my next question, sir. Pakistan, the Kashmir game across the world does not sell. And that even the Pakistanis today are acknowledging, naam lena padta hai, but kuch hota nahi hai. Koi faida nahi hai. Let's just, and there are discussions, if you see them, they're now growing sick of that entire thing. Having said that, they still have that indemnable urge of keeping on fingering India. Punjab as a story has been sold and accepted by certain parts in the world, as you've just brought out, UK, Canada, and some other countries in the West. It is a low cost sort of a game for the Pakistanis. Would you kind of agree with my analysis of this entire thing, and how do you think we should deal with this, apart from the economic angle? What about the diplomatic angle? How should India take this up with these kind of nations?
You see, Adi, as far as the strategy of Pakistan is concerned, that has not changed. If not there, do it elsewhere. So when they found that the headwinds are very strong in Kashmir, they have started shifting gear to Punjab. If they find that Punjab is not really playing up, they will find methods to attack us in the hinterland through their sleeper cells, which are across the entire country. They do have favorable elements in Bangladesh even now. They do have favorable elements in the our part of Bengal. So therefore, they have enough options available to continue with their proxy war, and that should be a given. We have to work beyond this now. And the only way to work beyond this, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I am first going to suggest to you some quick actions. This I was interacting with my name type, and he came up with some beautiful suggestions. So I would like to quote it. And since I said he's my name types and he's my rank type, so we are from the same fraternity, and you know whom I am referring to. He said, moment there is an action of this nature, there should be a quick response. Get the culprits to book immediately. Work as a cohesive unity entity as far as security forces are concerned. Army, central police, central armed police forces, and the police. They must act in unison to get the culprits to book. Round up all the OGWs. You see, the problem is the money which comes, it comes to the OGWs. The crowds which are gathered by the OGWs. I will share a personal experience of mine. I was the other day going along with my golf caddy. So he got a call from someone and said that please get 40 people along with you for XYZ rally. We will pay you, we will pay them $300 and you will get 40 rupees commission for each person. Right? Who's the person who gave the call? That's the OGW. It is these elements who have to be identified. They are working on your mobile phones. Start tapping them, track them. If you even take 10% into the gallows, I'm telling you, into the jails, you will find that the deterrence message will go across. That look, partner, it is not safe. It's not safe. The next thing which he suggested was, this is my suggestion, and I am on this issue. I'm ready to debate with anyone. In any insurgency, when it is at the beginning or when it is at the termination stage, you require more troops. And what we do the other way around. When the insurgency or terrorism is sliding or declining, what we did in most of the places, Nagaland or any other place, you see, it's easy to find 300 needles in a haystack, but it is very difficult to find two needles in a haystack.
Absolutely.
And these two needles in the haystack will commit soft killing, and then the whole world starts crying, and then there is an exodus which happens just by 2-3 terrorists. So how do you search them? Now you luckily have technical intelligence also available, but without human intelligence, without boots on ground, fighting in a CICT environment is very difficult. So continue to retain the troop levels even if the insurgency is going down till the local police is able to take control of the area. That's the third step. Then prevent proactively strengthening internal surveillance and preventive action. We must proactively carry out surveillance. Don't be waiting for an incident to happen. Proactively start looking at things, and invariably we are reactive in nature. Problem hua, then we start our actions. Our intelligence agencies, surveillance agencies, whether it is space-based surveillance, cyber surveillance, electronic, I know they are doing it, but it should not be taken as a 9 to 5 job. Unfortunately, all the offices of these agencies are in Delhi. They all do a 9 to 5 job, and there are people who work in the dark networks. They require a much more sophisticated surveillance. That's not happening. A threat and a balacode type of action, if somebody is found to be directly attributed for an event. If you find that there is enough proof existing against Pakistan for the targeted killing or for the action of Musewala or for the action of attack on the intelligence building. We need not be waiting for a big attack, yeah. That is where we get wrong. Moment we have 100 killing, then we start looking at some
Yeah.
surgical action.
Hmm.
The surgical actions are at various levels and can be of various types. I don't want to talk about those surgical actions in a forum like this, but enough hint is there. And if you look back at Chanakya, what he used to do or what he used to suggest to his kings, I think we need to do those things. And Israel is a living example of such an action. And so is the US, so is the Russians. Everybody is doing it. It's only India which goes on to the high moral standing. And what do we achieve with this? Let me tell you. Acha. Then choke the international financing. We are not doing enough. In the name of some people, some good people might get affected, etc. We are not that effectively choking financing flow of groups like SFJ, Babur Khalsa, Khalistan Zindabad Force. These are announcing themselves in the environment and acting freely. And if the government is doing, very good. I'm for it. If they're not doing it, they should start doing it. Work with the governments of UK and US and Canada. I'm telling you, US has taken a step. I was reading yesterday only. There are 55 groups of Khalsa, Sikh Khalistani movements in US. 55 groups. They have recognized this within themselves without India telling them. And there is some Hudson's group which is going to carry out a study on this and try to prevent these guys from being active and creating upheaval. Why? Because ultimately any such activity starts going against that country itself. When they go beyond a particular level, you will find it starts affecting them. What is happening to Pakistan? Taliban has today, it's not on a favorable wicket with Pakistan. That initial bonhomie is over now. Taliban is talking to India now for the wheat, right? Because they have to live, they have to eat, and Pakistan has already stopped the Indian wheat from going across to Taliban without their monitoring, etc., etc. So I am saying they are also watching the attitude of their so-called friends. So we need to choke these guys funding resources and work with the governments, however anti they are. We have to take the bull by the horn, do whatever is in our capacity diplomatically and economically. We are becoming a emerging market as far as the world is concerned. Let's capitalize on that. It may be not very big, but it is significantly big. We may not be a major military power, but we do have different levers which we can exploit. Our only weakness is the energy for which we have to go down at times to people without even our so-called internal commitment to do so. But that everybody does, every country does. Which country does not go in for I mean, which European country has not gone in for importing oil from Russia despite the sanctions?
Even
It's
today, sir.
the Yeah, it is just a necessity. I have to ensure that people of my country live comfortably. So therefore, so be damned if the sanctions are there. I have to get things for my people. So I'm doing it in whatever way I can do it. Right? To fight, you have to survive. I believe in that. So if you have to fight in the future, we have to survive. If you are not capable now, we have to make ourselves capable in future. To make ourselves capable in the future, we have to survive. Track 2, I've already talked about, and nipping the problem in the bud is what I've already said. Diplomatically, I think India is doing well. I mean, we have a very good person at the top who knows his job and work, and I think he's projecting India in the correct light. It is projecting India with that due deference of respect, politeness, and strength. All three combined together is giving India that image which one person which I would bow my head to is S. Jaishankar. That man is really putting India at a different level from what it was maybe 5-6 years back.
he's been able to carry the message, so there's no question about that. And that's something which is amazing today. And that's, I think, the most important thing in today's world is carry your narrative across the way you would like it to be carried across to the world. You don't need anybody to talk about you. So I think you've brought about some very interesting little points for India. And the only drawback, or the only not drawback, actually a wrong choice of word, the only stumbling block I actually see in this particular thing is our whole. And I'd like to apologize in the beginning for using that word, stupid morality that we carry around on our hands and on our heads all the time. Why are we so afraid of taking action, or taking out? The Americans pride themselves when they say, we shot that guy, we killed him, it's done. We will keep it a secret for 30 years, and nobody will get to know, and probably small YouTube channels here and there will talk about it. But beyond that, it's not, it doesn't make any this thing.
I think we high time start recognizing our own political thinkers of the past,
Yeah.
and be a realist rather than an idealist. Idealists never go long.
And as a closing thought, I'd also like to say that whatever you're saying right now, it literally fits like a glove on the similar situation that we are facing today. And I think when I say this, most of the viewers are going to get what I'm trying to say, without getting into the whole politics and the the touchiness of the subject. We are facing a similar challenge because we have foreign powers trying to control the narrative within our country to create mayhem and chaos in a place where things were more or less stable. So that's something which is being done not to deter us, but for their own interest. So it's something that I think what you're saying is absolutely right. We need to take a step forward and do stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir, keeping the discussion actually very precise and very focused on to what India needs to do. The problem, I think, is well understood by everyone, but a solution that you brought out is something that we need to reckon with. And I hope, as you said, if the government is taking such steps, great. If not, I think it's high time we start. On that note, sir, till next time for another subject. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you.